For you, as a coach, we've been in a coaching relationship for the past few months. And so I want to create a space for conversation around what that looks like, how you've benefited from that, and just your perspective. So it's almost like switching roles a little bit here in terms of the conversation. But why did you reach out for coaching in the first place? And what, I guess, problem were you trying to solve? If you were trying to solve a problem, if you can remember back, why did you originally reach out?
I originally reached out, I don't know if you remember this, but I was doing like a market research project and I was trying to talk to people and build network and community. And so I was not looking for a coach actually when I reached out to you. Like, I mean, in the sense that I'm always looking to grow and develop and be a better person. I was looking for a coach, but I was not like explicitly looking for a coach. I was looking for more connection and community. I got on the phone with you though, and I was like, oh, this dude is showing up in a way that feels like super authentic. Like you just like, you showed up, you were telling me, I was asking you, because I was interviewing you for, I don't know if you remember, we were doing this market research thing that I was doing. And I was asking you questions about like your perspective on the world. And you were telling me about who you work with. And I was like, I'm one of those. And then you were like, you told me about these two buckets. And I was like, well, I'm one of those people. And then I was like, and my buddy's one of those people. And like, maybe I could, I don't know. I like always feel value, but I'd love to like have more of a conversation. And I didn't know. And I didn't know what it looked like to work with you. I didn't know if you had any spots or anything like that. So, at the end of the conversation, I just was like, well, I'm going to ask him to see what the hell. And so,
yeah,
that was what that was like for me. And then dude, you're a pro, man. You're such a professional that whole process that started for me, like I wasn't opposed to hiring a coach, like by any means, but I was like not in the market for a coach. And just like the art with which you like led me and guided me through the process of enrolling, I was just like, this is awesome. And like the invitation that you gave me to do like some visioning and really like think about it. And I was just like, the business owner in me was like, oh, this is really cool. The coach in me was like, this is really fucking awesome, And then like the person who wants to analyze everything and figure things out was like really appreciating all of the subtlety and the art that was in the process. So that was, to answer your question, like, yes, there was a need. I wanted to grow my business, and I knew that I was doing that. I was in the process of that, growing my business. But then showing up and talking to you was like I wanted to ask you, and that was what went through my mind. Yeah. Does that answer your question? I don't know.
Yeah, it does.
Well, anyway, I hope whatever I did was helpful.
No, that was perfect. Yeah. And I think that, in that fun exchange that we had, to me, I think that clients are all around us at any given time, and how we show up in the world can meet with a certain energy, and that's where the magic can happen. And if it does, it's not even really, I would hesitate to call it selling. It's more like, you're connecting with people and they're enrolling themselves to some degree. I mean, there's more detail behind it than that, but well,
if it's done well, I think that's what it is. I think that there's so much, and there's like, and this goes back to like, I think why people have such resistance around selling too, is because maybe we've all had that experience where we've been sold to.
Yeah.
And I don't think we like that. Nobody likes that feeling. You know what I mean? I can appreciate it, especially as a salesperson myself. Like I can appreciate it, but I don't like it,
Yeah.
So,
well, it was, when I first came to selling coaching, thought it was going to be easy. The ego was kicked into high gear, and I thought, I've sold software all these years. How hard could it be to sell coaching? Well, as it turns out, it can be really freaking hard, because it's selling something you're selling yourself. It's highly personal. And it didn't work. Like I couldn't sell the same way. I couldn't sell coaching the same way I sold software. And, to make it even, I guess, more dramatic in a way, the stuff that I was seeing in terms of how things were being sold in the coaching world, not all of it, but some of it was really bad. Like I would have gotten my ass handed to me if I would have tried to sell like I saw happening in the coaching world. If I would have been selling like that in the software world, I would have been kicked out of offices. Like bad things would have happened. And some of that stuff still happens.
You mean like that high pressure stuff, the high pressure tactics?
Yeah. Like we've got to make a decision on this call before we end the call today. And if that happens, you only pay blah, 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 stuff like that, pressure stuff. Like we don't need pressure. Good Lord. Like this is a highly personal decision in time, money, and energy. The last thing you want people to do is make a decision out of fear, because then you know what? Your whole client roster is going to be filled with people who operate out of fear.
No, I'm laughing because I made that mistake when I first started my coaching business 5 years ago. Listen, I have an action discount. So if you take action in the next 24 hours to sign up onto this thing, it's a discount. It's like no fucking wonder the people that were showing up in my coaching practice were like, the whole relationship was off on the wrong foot.
All right. So how has your business or life shifted we've worked together for about 5 months, I believe. How have things shifted for you? So maybe specifically, what are some of the biggest results you've created out of the coaching work that we've done together?
Yeah, dude, I love talking about the results. So, a ton. First of all, I mean, I gotta start with ROI because it's been fantastic. I mean, like some of the tweaks that you like helped me to see, and some of the like the troubleshooting that we did early on, especially around my sales process. In the first month, it paid for the whole coaching investment. It was crazy. I was like shit, because I'd already been working, and it's worth noting to any listeners out there that it was not like I was playing this game of if I am a coach, right? Like when I showed up to you, I said to you, it's not a question of if for me, it's a question of when, right? So I was going to make it, but what happened was this timeline that maybe was like 2 years or a year and a half or something became like 2 months. And, by the end of the third month, I think I had like 4x ROI just from some of the tweaks that we'd made. So I think that like the ROI thing is a really like useful place to start in terms of what the benefit and the change and shift has been for me. Mm-hmm. And I will say that a lot of the practices and processes that I've developed through our work together, it has greatly simplified my life and my business and the way that I think about my business and the flow. Figuring out like higher leverage strategies for me, and figuring out how to like impact more people and kind of set things up in such a way that it creates a container and, a really smooth process and an authentic process that I can bring people through or invite people to, and to use to create more business for me, and to just like kind of zoom out, because I like the conversations and I like the content creation stuff. And when we first started working together, I was in such like stress mode about creation that I didn't have a lot of the space that I think I've created since we worked together.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I recognized right away and dove into to kind of like figure out if this was real or not was you just seemed to really shine whenever there was a opportunity to get one-on-one with someone.
Yeah.
And I listened to one of your early calls with a potential client, and dude, it was like legit amazing coaching that you were giving. And we sharpened the edges around some of the enrollment pieces.
Yeah.
And I think that's some of what's been helpful for you. But from that came, for me as a coach, the recognition that, hey, if you can just do the thing that you're already good at, like these one-on-one coaching conversations, how can that be leveraged? How can that be highlighted so that you just need to show up and do more of that? Because when you do the thing that you're good at and other people see it, then the magic has a chance to happen. And you've got to have a clean invitation for somebody to take a next step to experience that for themselves. And then you, from my estimation, pretty elegantly embraced that and stepped into highlighting your skills in some workshop environments, even like now when COVID would make that a perfect excuse as a why not to do it. You did it virtually. And again, so you did the work and you've gotten some really good results. You've been on a tear.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Yeah, dude, it's great. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So there's infinite coaches to work with in the world,
Mm-hmm.
which creates kind of an inherent. It can create a little bit of a I don't know what you would call that, but almost like this idea that there's so much competition that like, who am I to go out and do my thing in a world where there's so many other coaches, and your work is highly unique and you're really good at it, and so you're in alignment with that. But when it came to working with another coach, I guess you alluded to this in my earlier question. How did you decide to choose to work with me versus someone else or another program or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Well, first of all, I think it's important to say it explicitly and out loud. For me, it was never an either or.
Okay.
Like it wasn't you versus something else. Like it was always like a both and, because I already had another coaching program. I continue to invest in my coaching in other ways. Like I just think like this idea that there's competition and that there's like so much competition between coaches that it's like, I don't know. I just like, I heard this thing the other day. It's like Oprah has like, I don't know if it was 4 or 6 coaches or something like that. And it's like, yeah, right. There's enough space for every person in the world to have 6 coaches. So there's not enough coaches. we don't have enough coaches in the world, right? And that's like a real, like that's real for me. That lands, and people will be like, "Oh, well, Oprah, she's like wealthy and she can," but it's like, no, Oprah's wealthy because she's the kind of person who invests in herself, and she like does, it's not like, this is not magic. So I just want to say that because I think it's important, because I hear that a lot, and it's just like an important framework. But dude, again, and I didn't talk about it a little bit before, but just like you're a total pro, your authenticity was like really important and really like key for me. Because I actually, even in that interview series that I was doing where I was talking to other people, I talked to another coach, and she had like a chip on her shoulder or something that was like, it didn't feel, it felt a little like combative, and I didn't love that. And and so I like, while I on paper might have really enjoyed considering working with her as a coach, that wasn't a good fit. I wanted something that was a little bit smoother, a little bit easier for me, a little gentler, and somebody who's like showing up and being like, yeah, well, this is the thing, like what's real here. And so like your authenticity, I think, was like really important to me, and demonstrating some of the skills that I wanted to have as a person and as a coach, I thought was like really useful. So because we're like on different tracks, like you do a lot of teaching, I think, and I love that, and you like have systems that you've helped me to develop, and you're really good, and you've got the experience, I think, too, to like take some of my stuff that I was bringing to you, and I was like, this is what I'm doing, and you're like, yeah, that's great, and like, what if you do this, and like these little twists. And I thought that was like really useful for me, just in being a little bit newer to, because I thought I was good at sales. I thought I was doing pretty good with like a 20% conversion rate on conversations that I was having, and we made some tweaks, and I like got a little bit clearer on what the journey is like for somebody else. And I mean, it's like 70%, 80%. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Those fine tuning things that, again, just like coaching, as how we were talking about it before, like sometimes it's just hard to see this stuff from your own perspective.
Yeah. I literally had a blind spot. I thought I was great at sales. I thought sales was the area that I didn't need to work on, like enrollment, the enrollment process. I thought that was the area I was like, I don't need to figure that out. You need to help me with the other things. And then you're like, what about this? And I'm like, oh my God, my life just changed.
Oh man. Okay. How would you describe this is I guess more of a feeling question. If you think back to 5 months ago, you were a confident coach from my perspective. You knew that you were good as a coach and what you did. And so I'd just like to tease this out a little bit. What was the shift in feeling, if any? There's room here for like, what? I kind of feel the same. But was there a shift in like how you were feeling 5 months ago in your business as a coach versus how you're feeling today?
Like in my skill set? Like my coaching skill set? Is that what you're asking?
No, just to overall, like you're a coach, but you're also a business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe more from the business owner aspect. How and I'm truly like just leaving space here for, it feels kind of the same, or, it feels the same, but I've got more clients. But is there any change in the feeling that you have about like having a coaching business today versus 5 months ago? Or
yeah, I mean, absolutely. And so I think that the answer to, I just wanted to know which way you wanted me to answer, because I think the answer to both is yes.
Yeah.
As a business owner, there have been shifts because not only do I feel like I like have a process that I can trust to like enroll clients in my business, right? Like in perpetuity. So that there's not, I mean, like, yes, I'm a business owner that has more clients, but like that's a huge part of being a business owner, is like understanding where your revenue is coming from and like how you're out, like, because while I love being of service and I love having conversations, if I'm not getting paid to do that, I can't keep doing it,
Yeah.
So there's something very important to be said about that. But also, and the space that creates also for me to do the other things in my business that I like to do, like create content, which doesn't have an ROI for me, you know what I mean? But I like to do it and enjoy that. So, but also then as a coach, like I was just thinking about this yesterday, actually. If you're not coaching people, you're not getting better as a coach. You know what I mean? Like you're not improving. You can like take classes and learn, but you have to be coaching at least one person, but you have to be coaching people.
Yeah.
And the more that you're coaching, the more you like start to really have a perspective and a way that you work with people, and like start to become like more expert than just like intellectually expert. So I think on both sides, there have been huge shifts.
Okay. Can I ask a question on like that? The difference between coaching, because you can coach people for free, essentially, not practice coaching, but like if there's a piece missing on converting people from experiencing coaching to actually becoming a client, then you'll in perpetuity coach people, for free.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference, if there is a difference, in coaching people that don't pay you money? So getting on a call, coaching someone, maybe even having a second call, coaching someone, and then them not becoming a client, versus someone saying, yes, I want to invest with you and coach with you for 6 months. Like, how would you tease that apart in terms of how that works in your mindset from as like a coach? Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
So if I'm like showing up and coaching and I'm doing, maybe that's part of my enrollment process, which it is part of my enrollment process, is that there's like, I do free calls up front, because before I enter into that relationship with people, I want to make sure I like them and that it'll work and that it'll be of service to them. Now that's great. And having these like one-off conversations with people is fantastic. But the skill of developing a coaching relationship with someone doesn't come from one-off conversations or doing free conversations. And if you're able to have a free conversation with people, then we're back to like a long-lasting free conversation with people. I mean, like a month-long, several month-long engagement with somebody that you're doing for free. If you're able to do that, we're back to the issue where if people aren't investing, they're not investing. And that's just like, it's a universal communication. So you either are investing in, and this is just a belief that I hold, and maybe other people could find a different way to look at it. But for me personally, if somebody's not literally investing in something that it would hurt them to lose it, right? If somebody's not really like putting that down, then they're not showing up for the coaching. They're not showing up in their investment in themselves. They're not showing up in their investment and time in the coaching. So the results that they're going to get aren't as good. And, so the developing of the coaching relationship, a powerful container for people to go through a transformational process, I think demands that you actually are selling coaching in longer term engagements, and that you have the capacity to do that and create those kinds of relationships with people. So, it couldn't be done for free is what I'm getting at. It'd be like trying to make ice without water is how I see it. Like I couldn't actually develop that skill if I wasn't in these multi-month coaching relationships with people.
Yeah. So the energy's different because a lot of your coaching conversations on a week-to-week basis now are with paying clients. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, I mean, imagine, like, think of the different way that you have to show up as a coach when, somebody's paying you a lot of money. So, like, in digging deep and investing in something that like makes them a little uncomfortable perhaps, and that they have to like kind of work through. Like imagine what that calls forth from you to like, I have to show up and like be of service and be like tuned in and like think about them and engage with their process even outside of the coaching relationship, and just be good, be as of service as I can be to these people, and like, so the investment it's on both. It's like a benefit to both of us for there to be an investment, a significant investment.
Yeah. Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
Was there any hesitation? Do you remember when it came time for you to invest in this coaching relationship? Because, ultimately it's time, it's energy, it's money, it's all of those things. And that can be a little bit of it's something that I think you want to think about from all three of those perspectives. But was there any resistance that you can remember when you were looking at making an investment in this relationship? And if so, like maybe how did you overcome that?
Mm-hmm. Well, so there was resistance, especially in the beginning when I was just like, this guy's kind of cool, and I think I'm in that bucket. And I was like raising my hand, but I'm like, I don't know, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to invest in it. And I don't, like all that story, right? So in the beginning, that was definitely there. As I, because we had a relatively, laid back enrollment process. You weren't like, all right, you got to make the decision now, like whatever. It was just like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have this conversation, and then we're going to have this conversation. And in between those conversations, I was reflecting. I was, you did, you invited me to do an exercise. I did that. And I'm like really thinking through, okay, well, like what would this look like? What would this feel like for me? And how would I make it? And so it was not even in our conversations, you and I, that I was like sold on coaching, that I really like started to feel enrolled. It was when I was away from it, thinking about, what would it mean for me and my business to make this investment? How would I want to be showing up? What would I want to be focused on? And how can I like be really clear on the way that I would know that I had made a good investment for myself? And so that was how I overcame that.
Okay. Got it.
Resistance, I think.
Okay. All right.
Between I think it was between our first call was that interview, but it was between our first like official call and then that next call when there was like maybe a week or two that we were away. That was when I just went and investigated.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
Which is worth doing, by the way. Like those questions that you gave me, even if we had never talked again and you had gotten hit by a bus or whatever, just those questions, asking myself those questions and getting really clear with the answers once a year for my business, like,
yeah,
unlimited ROI.
Yeah. And those questions, and we've probably talked about this, but just for the listeners, those questions are filter questions. If you don't do the work on those questions, that's a big flashing red light when we come back to the call, because then I've got to change my approach a bit and see, really, like, are you serious about this? Why didn't you invest some energy into those questions? Because they're really good questions and will give us a lot of clarity. So I like to think of those questions as a bit of a audition or a filter. And it makes the process of enrolling clients, honestly, like way easier, because the ones that do the work kind of come back to most of the calls, for the most part, like enrolling themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Michael, I got to tell you, just because for the purpose of this call, I think it's relevant. I literally just, as we were sitting here, I just got paid $5,500. So I just...
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
Never, ever has there been a better timed event, right? Podcast episode for me.
Totally. It's so relevant. So relevant.
That is beautiful. Oh my gosh. So good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of a good way to start to wrap things up.
Yeah. Totally. Cha-ching. What was that? I'm sorry. Thanks.
Cha-ching. All right. Well, let's go here then. Like, that's worth celebrating. First of all, congrats.
Thanks.
Looking forward for you, kind of like snapshot in this moment, what are you most excited about from the perspective of your coaching business and like what's happening and the energy around it and like where you're going?
Cool. Well, one is, so like as I wrap up filling up my one-on-one, which by the way was exactly in alignment with those visioning questions. Like we're right on schedule for me filling up my one-on-one coaching practice.
Yep.
And we're now looking into the next phase, which is I'm super excited about this group program that I'm developing and filling in the holes right now, and then like filling up the seats as well. That's going to start in January, so I'm super excited about that, which is leading me in a sort of longer term time frame to do a course that's going to come out of that, because I want to make sure it works, make sure it's really valuable for people, and then I'm going to create a course out of that. So that's where I'm excited over the next year too. But by this time next year, that course will have launched and be selling out in the world, helping people at scale in a way that I can't do with one-on-one coaching. So I'm really excited about all that.
Awesome.